What more can you say about the run game in Philly? Saquon Barkley continues to elevate en route to his first ever conference championship game after running rampant in the divisional win over the Rams last night. This one of several big runs he broke off for, racking up over 200 yards and 2 touchdowns in the win. He now has 40 60-yard rushing scores against LA, putting him in the conversation with guys like Jim Brown and Adrian Peterson. In fact, he has more scrimmage yards against the Rams than the other 2 running backs have on the roster, guys, that they have combined for this entire season. So obviously he will lead the way when it comes to this all NFC East showdown for the NFC Championship game. The 2, of course, split the series in the regular season. And in fact, to take it a step further, the Eagles are 14-1 in their past 15 games. Their only loss was the Commanders in Week 16. So obviously that is at the forefront. You can't count out the rookie, though. It feels insulting to call Jaden Daniels a rookie at this point because of how well he has played. It's the 6th seed against the 2 seed getting us started on championship weekend. So it's the thrill of victory for some, others waking up this morning still in a nightmare. Ravens tight end Mark Andrews, normally Mr. Reliable, had an off night in the worst way. It all started with this punch out in the 4th quarter, one of 3 costly turnovers for the Ravens. Then with a chance to send their AFC divisional matchup into overtime, he had the catch on the 2-point conversion, then he lost it. Buffalo holds on to win it 27-25. A tough moment there for Andrews. Lamar Jackson did take credit, or accountability, I should say, for those turnovers for Baltimore. Didn't put anything on Andrews, but either way, we are looking at, for the 4th time in the last 5 postseasons, Josh Allen versus Patrick Mahomes fighting for a spot in the Super Bowl. Only Tom Brady and Peyton Manning have met more. Now, if you remember, the Bills snapped Kansas City's franchise best 15-game win streak back in Week 11 earlier this year. But guys, we've seen this story before, and it usually doesn't end well for Bills Mafia. The Chiefs have won their last 3 playoff meetings against the Bills, which leads us here. Then there were 4. As you take a look at the remaining bracket, it is Buffalo taking on KC in a very highly anticipated rematch. You also get Washington and Philadelphia in the NFC East matchup. I'm salty about that one because the Cowboys aren't in there, but we don't have time to talk about the Cowboys. We do have time to talk about these 2 games coming up this weekend. And to do so, we bring in 2 of our NFL analysts. We've got Kyle Long and Douzable breaking it down. Gentlemen, we're going to talk about the team's path to the Super Bowl. We know that the bracket has been laid out, so let's dive into the game plan for each of these teams as they're trying to get to New Orleans later this month. Let's start with the Bills. They, of course, have 4 Super Bowl appearances over their history. Gentlemen, we know they are 0-4 in those appearances, but those teams didn't have Josh Allen playing his best football. Lige, I come to you first here. When it comes to the Bills winning that Super Bowl, finally getting over the hump, what's their key to success?
Haley and Kyle, this team is elite when it comes to the turnover margin. Matter of fact, they were plus 24 this year in the turnover margin, which was the best since 2012. They're plus 3 in the playoffs. And to me, Josh Allen, that is the key, him not turning over the football. I believe he has the lowest percentage of plays where he's either taken a sack, thrown an interception, or fumbled the football. Only 4.2% of his plays has equated to one of those 3 in the category. To me, yesterday's game, it was about the plays that Josh Allen didn't make. And I say that because this is a perfect example. On one of the plays near the goal line on 3rd and 2, he gets stuffed. And he almost thought about laddering the football. Younger Josh Allen would have done that, but he decided not to. He understood the flow of the game, didn't put the ball in harm's way. There was another play, Kyle, where they had play action pass. It was dialed up for him to take a shot down the field. You know what he did? He checked it down to Ty Johnson and got 11 yards, stayed ahead of the chains, got a first down there. Old Johnson would have forced that down the field. So that's been the biggest difference in this Buffalo Bills team. When Josh Allen usually was top 5 in turning the football over, they're one of the best this year at turning people over, but not turning the ball over themselves.
Yeah, that's really well put there, Lige, in terms of turning the football over. We've seen it play out in these playoffs. The teams that take care of the football are the teams that are going to win. And we know that if you go and play Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs in the playoffs, particularly at Arrowhead, he is going to take care of the football. The Kansas City Chiefs will have an offense that will take care of the football. But I think the one thing that will get this Buffalo Bills over the hump is just controlling the tempo of the game, dictating the terms of engagement, running the football. They have ran the football incredibly well all season long. And yes, I know Josh Allen's a big part of that, but you have to give a big credit to that offensive line. Aaron Cromer's unit has been awesome. They've been great. You talked about it. They haven't taken many sacks. They don't throw many interceptions, lose many fumbles. Yes, a lot of that falls onto Josh Allen, but I think in large part it's due to that offensive line. So control the tempo, play keep away from Patrick Mahomes, and understand that sometimes when you're playing Patrick Mahomes, the flags do come out of the pockets. And you and I were texting about this all weekend, Lige. So have that understanding going into the game so we're not hearing about it post-game, because you know that these calls will be made.
Of course, Kyle alluding to the Houston Texans. There may be some complaints about the referees, but we'll have to see. That's a great point, though. And when it comes to the Bills and Vikings, guys, they're the only two teams who have been to a Super Bowl 4 times and have nothing to show for it. So obviously the Bills want to change that narrative. It just stinks that it's going to have to come at the hands of the Chiefs, because when we talk about the Chiefs, they are obviously this generation's dynasty team, right? They're the team that we think of equivalent to the New England Patriots. And when we look at Patrick Mahomes and that game against the Texans, a lot of people just keep almost rooting against the Chiefs, but they've proven time and time again, Kyle, that they can get it done. They are the team that is most prepared. So when you look at KC trying to get back to that elusive three-peat Super Bowl, what is their key to success?
Well, I think the key to success is the continuity there. They elected to keep Joe Thuney at the left tackle position. And against the Houston Texans, there were some plays where it's like, oh, man, we may be outmatched in terms of edge protectors. But you're not playing against the Houston Texans when it comes to the Buffalo Bills. That pass rush has been lackluster in Buffalo. I think it'll allow Patrick Mahomes some time to throw the football. He did not have a ton of completions outside of the tight end position in the last game. I think it was only one pass to a wide receiver. So I think that he will have time. The play will be able to develop. The crowd noise won't be a factor because they're going to be at home. And let's face it, they're the reigning champions, repeating reigning champions. They're going for a three-peat. This is a team as experienced as any. And like Lige said about the Buffalo Bills, Kansas City will take care of the football. Chris Jones is healthy and able to make plays. The second level of the defense is ready for a fight versus Josh Allen. I can't wait to watch this team try to make an attempt at a three-peat.
Yeah, Kyle, for this Kansas City Chiefs team, the thing that really sticks out to me, and you know this because you were in that locker room, is that they execute at a high level when it comes to situational football scenarios. And I say that because other teams have faltered when they played them in those scenarios. Case in point, 4th down, the Houston Texans, instead of just calling a timeout there, right, they try to rush their team on the field to save the timeouts. Seems like the offensive line and tight end Dalton Schultz for the Houston Texans weren't on the same page. You see right there, Karlaftis gets the sack, and they have to turn the football over when it could have potentially been a one-score game there. That's when the Kansas City Chiefs are out there at their best. Matter of fact, you go into that game, Steve Spagnuolo waits to send all-out pressure in the 4th quarter when he hadn't been doing it for the first 3 quarters. So it's like a chess game with his team, and they just execute at a high level when it comes to situational football scenarios. Got one more caveat for you guys. Let's not forget last year in the Super Bowl versus San Francisco 49ers, they were the better prepared team, and they understood those situational football scenarios. In overtime, they knew that the clock just continues to run. San Francisco didn't know that. Again, that's Andy Reid preparing his team and getting him ready. They just out-execute everybody. That will be the key. They need to continue to do that so they can go for that magical three-peat.
Yeah, it would be the first time a team went to the Super Bowl after winning back-to-back Super Bowls. I mean, really, it's so hard to contextualize how good this Kansas City Chiefs team is. Let's go over to the other side of this matchup where we get an all-NFC East showdown. We're going to talk about the Eagles first because, gentlemen, it seems like all that chatter about the beef in the locker room, A.J. Brown reading the book on the sideline, the Nick Sirianni drama earlier from this season. We've forgotten all about that because we've got Saquon Barkley literally running over teams. Lige, is that the key to success for the Eagles going forward?
Haley, and I know Kyle will love this answer, it's all about the trenches. Yes, I love what Saquon has done, but if you actually watch tape, there are times where Saquon Barkley is not touched until he's in the second level of the defense. Matter of fact, just go back to their game this past weekend. He had another 70-plus yarder, another 60-plus yarder, where he didn't even get touched. And it's because the dominance of the offensive line. Shout out to Mekhi Becton and also Coach Stoutland, who has developed Mekhi Becton, who was a tackle that's moved him in the guard, because he was straight mauling guys off the line of scrimmage yesterday. So anytime you have an offensive line where you can come in and out physical people, that's your key to success. And then when you go to the other side, Kyle, they have a game closer in Jalen Carter. Did we see what he did the last two plays versus the Los Angeles Rams? He gets in Matt Stafford's face, gets a sack, forces them to 4th and long, and then the next play he wins on a one-on-one again and forces Stafford to have an inaccurate pass. So anytime you have your team built within the trenches, that's going to be your key to success, right? Because on the offensive side, they can protect, but they also can maul you in the run game. And now they have closers on the defensive line to end games and win games for them. That will be their key to success to try to win another trophy.
Yeah, I totally agree with Ligier as far as the strength of this Philadelphia Eagles team, not only being the running back position, but the way they've constructed this roster on the offensive line. And I've talked about it ad nauseum. The offensive line is what keeps these runners on schedule, what keeps the offense 2nd and 5, 3rd and 1. But then you add to the roster a guy like Saquon Barkley, and to Ligier's point, untouched at a league-leading rate. I think it's 4.2 yards before contact.
Yeah.
He leads the league in that. That's because of the offensive line. Now, the home runs he hits, that is mom, dad, and God for Saquon Barkley. The guy is an absolute freak show. I love watching him play, and it's an offensive lineman's dream when you see Lane Johnson stretching the front side 5 technique on an inside zone, and Saquon Barkley pressing a linebacker, putting his foot in the ground, and getting downtown. I think that the key to the Eagles' success moving forward is to continue to lean on this guy, Saquon Barkley. And I don't know about you, Ligier. At this point in the season, I was always sore. I couldn't click my heels and jump around and do jumping jacks. Saquon Barkley is like the Energizer Bunny. That little break he had was just what he needed. I think he could go for 180 to 220 in each one of these games moving forward. And that will be the key for success for the Philadelphia Eagles.
I will never forgive Joe Shane for any of this, where we're at right now with Saquon Barkley playing for the Eagles. They are opening as the early favorite. It would be their 2nd Super Bowl appearance over the last 3 years. So the Eagles are humming. The only problem is they are taking on a Commanders team that has quite literally had a complete 360. I'm so glad that we've got Ligier, I told you so, Douzable on this segment, because you have been leading the charge when it comes to the Jaden Daniels hype train. I want to give Kyle, though, a second to pop in here, Kyle, because when we talk about Jaden Daniels, we have to start putting him in a completely different category. Logan Ryan put up a good point over the weekend as well, saying he could be having what is the best rookie season we have ever seen out of a quarterback. So similar question I posed to Ligier and the Eagles, is Jaden Daniels the key to success for the Commanders if they're going to get that Super Bowl win?
Yes, Jaden Daniels is the biggest key to success for the Washington Commanders, but I want people to understand what culture is really about. 2 guys that I played with in Kansas City, Super Bowl champions, Nick Allegretti, Andrew Wiley. They came to the Washington Commanders, and for a lot of folks, you think, well, you leave the locker room in Kansas City, your storybook days in the NFL are over. You're not going to win any more Super Bowls. They brought that winning mindset to the offensive line, who is coupled hand in hand with that rookie quarterback and kind of protecting him all season long. I think that the culture is truly amazing there in Washington. That's a huge part of it, the belief in their quarterback, and also the timely interceptions, the turnovers that the defense is able to create. It's been awesome to watch, and you can see Jaden Daniels here handing the football off, but there's always that threat of him keeping it. He runs it like nobody's business, and it is all because of Jaden Daniels. But I do think that offensive line, that winner's mentality, you come from somewhere, you've won before, you know what it takes. It's important to rub off on that young quarterback of yours.
Yeah, Kyle, without a doubt, it's going to be in the hands of Jaden Daniels. And Haley, you know, I've stated this before. There's no quarterback I trust as it pertains to this season more in clutch situations than Jaden Daniels. And he did it again last week. Let's not forget, coming out at half, the Lions got that score down to within 3 points. You know what Jaden Daniels did? He went on a 10-play, 70-play drive that included a 4th and 2 where it was a quarterback keeper, and he gets to the edge and gets a first down to extend the drive, and then they go on to score points and go up by double digits again. He is just unfazed by pressure. Like, pressure doesn't get to him. And when you think you're not going to pressure him and go man coverage and you're going to go zone coverage, only rush 4, he has the patience to stay in the pocket and pick you apart as well. Right now, guys, he is the best player in the playoffs when it comes to this season alone. I'm going to say it again. Jaden Daniels is the best player in these here playoffs this season. unfazed, cool, calm, and collective. He's at his best when it's grimy and sticky. That's when he plays his best. If the Commanders are going to pull this off, it's going to be because of Jaden Daniels. You know what's another crazy stat, Haley and Kyle? Jaden Daniels has only punted one time in the playoffs so far. Let me say that one more time. Jaden Daniels has only punted one time in the playoffs so far. This is probably the hottest team in football. And again, if the Commanders are going to pull off the upset, it's going to be because of Jaden Daniels.
He told reporters after the game, quote, "I don't really talk about my goals a lot to people. I keep that between me and God, but it is very clear that we have goals for Jaden Daniels of how well he has been playing." Gentlemen, always good catching up with you, picking your NFL brains as we get ready for conference weekend in the NFL. Can you believe it? We are already at that point of the season. Make sure you get caught up with all the latest storylines by checking out Pushing the Pile with our own Kyle Long. Mike Renner are the hosts of that show. Lee J pops on there quite often to talk ball as well. Make sure you scan that QR code on your screen, or you can listen wherever you get your pods. And oh, by the way, it is the biggest game with the biggest stars. Buffalo versus Kansas City, the rematch we all wanted, right? Sunday 6:30 Eastern on CBS. Those two going head-to-head. Winner goes to the Super Bowl. Well, coming up next, we pivot to the association. Ice Trey has had quite the antics at MSG. Can he pull off another smack-talking upset? We're talking basketball with Tim Doyle after the break.